70% of the real clearance stock at Walmart never gets a yellow tag you can actually see. That number alone sends a lot of people home empty-handed even after they walked right past the exact deal they needed. The problem isn't that the stock runs out, it's that you haven't learned where to look yet. You'd be awesome if you subscribed and liked this video. The hidden seasonal markdown calendar. Walmart doesn't mark things down at random. Behind every clearance wave is a schedule that repeats year after year, and once you know it, you'll always know ahead of time when to grab your cart and go hunting. January and June are the 2 months when toys get pushed down as much as 80%, because that's when the store clears out after the holidays and gets ready for summer. In July, right when the heat peaks, outdoor gear like patio furniture, garden hoses, and tents starts dropping hard because the busiest selling season has already passed. By October, 3 categories drop at once: seasonal clothing, decor, and electronics, because the store needs shelf space for holiday merchandise. If you need toys for the grandkids, don't rush to buy in December. Wait until January instead. If you're planning to get patio furniture, July is always cheaper than May by a wide margin. The simplest way to use this is to mark these 3 windows on your phone calendar and shop exactly then instead of buying the moment you need something. A lot of people buy seasonal items right when they hit the shelf, paying full price, when waiting just a few more weeks would cut that price in half. This is why savvy shoppers already have a closet full of Christmas decorations bought the January before, at a third of the early season price. If you pay attention, other big retail chains run the same playbook with school supplies and backpacks, just with the clearance window landing in late August instead of the new year. Knowing this pattern keeps you from buying toys while prices are still sky high, then kicking yourself when your neighbor picks up the same item for half price just weeks later. A lot of families make a habit of putting together next year's gift list during the January clearance, storing it away until the right occasion comes around. 2. The weekly golden window. Do you know which day of the week Walmart employees update clearance pricing? Nearly the entire store system does this in the morning, spread across Monday through Wednesday. This isn't a rumor, it's a routine process that repeats at most locations across the country. The reason is practical. Weekends bring heavy foot traffic, and staff are busy at the registers and restocking shelves, so rescanning inventory pricing always gets pushed to the start of the week when the store is quieter. If you're shopping on Saturday or Sunday, chances are you're looking at last week's prices, not the newest ones. The strategy here is straightforward. Try to swing by Tuesday or Wednesday morning, right after the system just finished updating, but before the weekend crowd cleans out the good stuff. Plenty of experienced deal hunters treat this as a hard rule. They always avoid Saturdays because they know they'll only be picking through leftovers. One small tip that goes with this: just ask the associate working the clearance aisle whether that's the pricing update day. Most of them will give you a straight answer since it's not some closely guarded secret. Here's an interesting detail. Shipments to the warehouse usually pile up over the previous weekend, so the stock that needs clearing sites there right up through Monday. If you've ever wondered why the shelves sometimes look picked clean on a Sunday visit, it's because last week's clearance already got swept up by people who came in earlier, back on Tuesday. Just shifting your weekly shopping trip from the weekend to midweek noticeably improves your odds of catching the freshest clearance prices before anyone else does. 3. Cracking the yellow price tag code. The yellow clearance tag at Walmart doesn't just show a number, it hides a whole story if you know how to read it. There's always a small string of digits in the corner of the tag. That's the date the price was last updated, and the very last digit is the part you really need to pay attention to. If the price ends at 97 cents, that's usually just the first markdown. Plenty of stock remains, and it's going to drop further. But if the price ends in 0 cents or 3 cents, that's almost always the final price. The store won't cut it any further, and whatever's left is running low. Here's a real example. A 10-gallon storage tote was priced at $14.96, and after a few rounds of markdowns, it dropped to $8.03 the moment the ending digits switched to that final tier. When you see that ending, don't hesitate because it's a quiet signal that the item is about to disappear from the shelf for good. Besides the two endings I just mentioned, you'll sometimes come across a tag ending in 44 cents, which usually marks a mid-level cut, signaling there's still decent stock left, and it'll keep dropping over the next few weeks. Real experience shows that anything that's already hit that 0-cent ending and you're still on the fence about, you're better off grabbing it right there, because coming back a week later, you'll very likely find the shelf completely empty. A lot of people have kicked themselves for putting off a purchase, only to come back and find no trace of the item left on the shelf. The practical habit here is that every time you pick up something with a yellow tag, look straight at those last two digits before you even look at the price itself. 4. The clearance aisle is a trap. Most shoppers walk straight into the section with the big sign that says clearance and assume every good deal is sitting right there. The truth is the exact opposite. The clearance section is the first place picked through by staff and by other deal hunters, so what's left behind tends to be the least appealing stuff. The items actually worth your money are scattered in spots you'd never think to check, sitting right on the regular shelf they originally belonged to. Take a 100-count LED light string, for example, originally priced at just $4.99, but still sitting on the regular decor shelf instead of being moved to the clearance section. The reason is simple: staff don't have enough time to gather every marked down item into one spot, so a lot of it stays mixed in with the full-price merchandise. The smart approach is to walk slowly through the regular aisles and watch for items with a slightly different colored tag or one sticker layered over another instead of just ducking straight into the clearance section and leaving. Here's one small tip that goes along with this. When you spot a product sitting out of place with a barcode that doesn't match the shelf label around it, that's almost always a sign another customer changed their mind and put it back right after the price got adjusted. Employees restocking shelves usually don't have enough time during their shift to sort everything out, so these misplaced items can sit there for a whole week before anyone notices. Bottom line, if you only stick to the main clearance section, you're missing out on most of the best deals in the entire store. 5. Hunting down the hidden markdown spots. Beyond the main aisle, Walmart has 3 other spots where marked down items tend to hide and nobody bothers to check them. First is the end cap, where stores often dump overstock from several different aisles into one convenient spot to deal with later. Second are those random display setups in the middle of the aisle, originally meant to promote new products but later turning into a dumping ground for leftover stock nobody got around to clearing. Third, and this is the one fewest people think of, is the bottom shelf right at floor level in regular aisles. Because you have to bend down to see it, most shoppers walk right past without noticing. So employees often use that empty space to temporarily stash items waiting on an official markdown. The best way to work this is to pull out your phone and scan the barcode on anything that looks a little off in these 3 spots, even if there's no clearance sticker in sight. Plenty of times, the real price that pops up on the app is way lower than what's printed on the shelf, simply because staff haven't gotten around to updating the paper tag yet. Here's another small tip. While you're bent down checking the bottom shelf, keep an eye out for unopened cartons tucked behind the display items. Sometimes they hold backup stock that hasn't made it to the main shelf yet, but the price has already been updated in the system. If you notice a product that's a little dusty or the packaging looks older than usual, don't just walk past it, scan it, because there's a good chance it's something that got forgotten between 2 inventory counts. This small habit, taking just a few extra minutes on every shopping trip, is what separates the person paying full price from the one who always walks out with a deal nobody else spotted. Now you know where to look with your own eyes, but there's a tool sitting right in your pocket that can expose every markdown the store hasn't gotten around to labeling. 6. Scan everything with the app. The phone in your pocket is more powerful than any price tag on the shelf. The Walmart app lets you scan the barcode on almost every product in the store, including items that don't have any markdown sticker on them at all. This is exactly where most of the clearance secrets get exposed, because the internal pricing system updates way faster than staff can keep up with reprinting paper tags on the shelf. There are times you'll see a gap of 50, even 80% compared to the listed price, even though everything looks completely normal on the outside. Here's a real example. A bathroom caddy on the shelf was tagged at $4, but scanning the barcode showed exactly $1 on the screen, meaning you'd pay just a quarter of the original price without waiting for anyone to slap on a clearance sticker. The simplest habit is to scan anything that looks a little worn, has a slightly dented box, or sits off by itself away from the rest of the matching products around it. Here's a common situation. You pick up a toy box that looks totally normal, no clearance sticker anywhere, but scanning the barcode reveals a price less than half of what's printed on the shelf. This happens because Walmart's internal system updates pricing by the hour, while employees can only print and reprint paper tags a few times a week. If you make it a habit to scan before you toss something in the cart, over time you'll start noticing certain sections of the store carry a much bigger gap between shelf price and scanned price, like the small home goods section or the seasonal aisle right after its peak season ends. In the long run, this is the single most important habit on this whole list, because it turns every ordinary shopping trip into a deal hunt, no matter which aisle you happen to be standing in. 7. The online clearance hub. Before you even leave the house, you can already know what your nearest store is marking down. On the Walmart website, there's a section called the Clearance Hub, which gathers up every marked down item across every category, from electronics to kids' toys. The smartest way to use it isn't to order online right away, it's to jot down the SKU number for anything that catches your eye, then bring that exact number into the store to scan with the app. Here's the practical reason for that. The price shown on the Clearance Hub is sometimes just the first markdown, while the actual price at your nearby store might already be much lower thanks to that particular location's own update. One evening spent checking this list might show you a drone still sitting at $89, a hand mixer at $49, a countertop oven also at $49, and even a Lego building set at $49. Making a list ahead of time saves you from wasting time wandering the store without knowing exactly what you're looking for. One thing worth keeping in mind about the Clearance Hub is that the items shown aren't always in stock at your nearest location, since this is pulled together from data across stores nationwide. So writing down the SKU and calling your local store ahead, or checking stock right in the app, saves you from driving over only to find the item has been gone since last week. Plenty of experienced shoppers keep their own running watch list, updating it every night before bed so they don't miss a fresh markdown the moment it shows up. But here's something that catches a lot of people off guard. 2 Walmart stores just a few miles apart can sell the exact same item at 2 completely different clearance prices. 8. Clearance pricing varies by location. A lot of people assume Walmart runs the same pricing nationwide, but when it comes to clearance, that's simply not true. Each store manages its own inventory and decides its own markdown pace based on how much stock is sitting in that particular location. That means the same product on the same day could be deeply discounted at one store while still sitting at full price at another store just a few miles away. A good example is the Ninja 6-quart air fryer. One location was still selling it for $79.99, while another location had the exact same product marked down to $29.99. Before you drive across town, open the Walmart app, pull up the item you want, and check the price at nearby stores within a few miles. It only takes a minute to compare, but it could save you a meaningful amount of money if you pick the right location to visit. This gap doesn't just happen with big appliances, it happens with small stuff too, like kitchen tools or garden supplies, depending on how fast that item moves through a particular neighborhood. A store near a busy residential area tends to turn over inventory faster, so stock stays low and clearance pricing shows up sooner compared to a store in a less populated area where items can sit on the shelf a lot longer before getting marked down. This is a habit savvy shoppers always run through before leaving the house, instead of just defaulting to the nearest store and accepting whatever price happens to be posted there. 9. Ask for a price match with Walmart.com. If you're standing in the store and notice the price is a lot higher than what's listed on Walmart's own website, don't walk away empty-handed. Walmart lets customers ask for a price match against the lower price on Walmart.com right at the register, as long as the item matches exactly on item number, size, and model. This is a benefit few people know about since it's not heavily advertised in the store and employees rarely bring it up on their own. Here's a real example. A 50-inch Samsung TV was priced at $499.99 in the store, while the website had the exact same model at $399.99 at that same time. The practical way to use this is before you head to checkout, pull up your phone browser, find the exact product on Walmart.com, and if the online price is lower, politely ask the cashier to adjust it to that price. In most cases, the request gets approved right at the register without needing to call over a manager, as long as you've got clear proof on your phone screen. This price match policy covers most categories from electronics to home goods to toys, as long as you can clearly show the product on Walmart.com matches the exact item number and model of what's in your hands. A few newer employees might not be fully familiar with this policy, so if you run into any pushback, you can politely ask for the shift manager, who usually handles it much faster. A lot of customers miss out on this benefit simply because they don't know it exists, when just one polite question could save you a solid amount on higher-priced items like TVs or appliances. There's one more trick that happens right at checkout, and it applies to any item at all, not just pricey electronics. 10. Getting the lower price honored at checkout. This is probably the least used benefit on this whole list. If the price posted on the shelf is lower than what scans at checkout, you have every right to ask to be charged the shelf price, not whatever the system shows. This happens more often than you'd think, because sometimes the paper tag hasn't been pulled down yet, even though the system already updated to a new price. Here's a real example. A blender had a shelf tag reading $29.99, but scanning the barcode at the register brought up $44.87, all because of a simple update that hadn't synced yet. If you don't speak up, most cashiers will just charge whatever the system shows, since they're not standing next to the shelf to compare it directly. The simplest fix is to snap a photo of the shelf price before bringing the item to the register, so you've got clear proof if you need to reference it. When you spot a difference, just tell the cashier politely that the shelf price doesn't match what's scanned, and in almost every case, it gets fixed right away without any back and forth. This situation comes up more often with items that just went through a markdown, when staff are too busy to update both the paper tag and the scanning system at the same time. If you're buying several things at once, take a second to check your receipt right at the register before you leave, instead of waiting until you're home to spot the mistake, since getting a refund after the fact takes a lot more effort. This small habit, just a few extra seconds to snap a photo, can save you a decent amount on mid to high-priced items. 11. Treasure hunting the day after a holiday. The day right after any major holiday is the single best time of year to catch the deepest markdowns. Right after Halloween, Christmas, or Easter, Walmart needs to clear out inventory to make room for the next season's stock, so prices drop fast, usually somewhere between 50 and 90% within just a few days. Here's a real example. A 100-count LED light string was still sitting on the decor shelf, but right after the holiday, it dropped 70% off the original price. This isn't a slow markdown that stretches out over a month. It's a sharp drop that happens almost immediately. So if you wait even a week, there's a good chance the stock is already gone by the time you get back. The smartest move is to plan a Walmart trip the very day after a holiday, first thing in the morning if you can manage it, instead of waiting until the weekend when everyone else has already grabbed the good stuff. Worth remembering, the markdown pace after smaller holidays like Valentine's Day or Mother's Day follows the same pattern, though the cuts usually aren't as deep as the 3 big holidays I mentioned. If you're patient and time it right, you could stock up on a whole year's worth of gifts and decorations for a fraction of what you'd pay buying at peak season. A lot of families make a habit of setting aside a morning right after every holiday to make a Walmart run, treating it as a fixed date on their yearly shopping calendar. Right now, in the middle of summer, the nearest date to keep in mind is the back-to-school markdown in August, when school supplies and some leftover summer items start dropping to clear shelf space. A bit further out, Labor Day weekend in early September usually brings deep markdowns on mattresses and big-ticket home goods, worth the wait if you're not in a rush to buy right now. But everything I've covered so far still isn't the biggest secret. There's a website Walmart quietly runs where actual overstock gets pushed out at prices that are hard to believe. 12. Walmart's secret clearance website. Few people realize that alongside the familiar Walmart.com, there's a separate sales channel dedicated to handling overstock, customer returns, and surplus inventory from distribution centers. This isn't some secret site only insiders know about. It's an official clearance platform run directly by Walmart, just one that very few everyday shoppers have ever heard of. Merchandise here usually sells either in bulk lots or as individual items, priced significantly lower than regular retail because the whole point is clearing out inventory fast rather than maximizing profit on each piece. You'll find just about everything on there, from electronics and appliances to furniture and even seasonal items still sealed in the box. One thing to keep in mind is some products may be refurbished, and the packaging might not look as pristine as brand new merchandise, so read the description carefully before buying instead of just going by the attractive price. Another thing worth noting, since this channel deals with overstock and returns, shipping usually takes longer than a regular Walmart.com order, sometimes adding a few extra days since the item may be shipping from a different regional warehouse. If you're not in a rush and just need something for personal use without expecting flawless packaging like brand new items, this is genuinely worth considering to save a meaningful chunk of your yearly shopping budget. For families who regularly buy furniture or electronics in larger quantities, this channel usually offers a much bigger discount compared to just relying on the in-store clearance section. If you thought you already knew every corner of Walmart's discount system, this clearance channel is the final piece of the puzzle, and once you're used to shopping this way, it's hard to go back to the old routine. These 12 tips are just the surface of how Walmart handles clearance, not a fixed formula that applies to every store or every item you happen to need. Some locations follow these rules almost to the letter. Others rotate stock their own way depending on the neighborhood and whoever's managing that shift. The most practical approach isn't trying to memorize all 12 at once, it's picking out a few habits that fit your own routine. Next time you're at Walmart, will you try switching your shopping trip to Tuesday morning or pull out your phone and scan the very first item you pick up before it goes in your cart?